Welcome to a new video. I am in a different setting, but let's not dwell upon that. Let us talk about what I am going to be talking to you about today, which is I am going to be recommending to you some short Indian translated books, and by short I mean under the page count of 200. It is Lit with Indian Lit month, which is a month where we read translated Indian literature in general, and if we are almost at the end of it, there are less than 10 days, and if you want to read some books which are short to cram in during this period of time, I got you recommendations. So let's begin. But before we do, there are other videos that you can also check out where I recommend books to you. Last year I put up a video where I recommended 10 books, and this year I put up a video where I recommended you 25 books, which was basically like recommending books from A to Z without the X, because I couldn't find a book with the X. Anyway, let's just get into the books that I'm recommending to you now. The first book that I want to recommend to you is at 64 pages, and that is Dopahari by Pankaj Kapoor. And this is her book about Ammavi, who is an old lady living in Lucknow, if I'm not mistaken. And she is just kind of trying to get used to the idea of being alone, of being lonely, and just her interactions with the people around her. It is a really heartwarming, wonderful read. The end just totally melts your heart. It is just so wonderful and so lovely. Definitely recommend. The second book is Nylon Rope by Sujata, or S. Rangaraj. Sujata is just his pseudonym. But he writes a lot of like pulp fiction, and this one is a crime fiction book about a lawyer who has to solve this murder because his friend's sister is basically the main suspect, and he wants to make sure that he can help his friend and get this sister off the hook for this crime that she has not committed. It's really short, super fun, goes by really fast, and very enjoyable. The third book is A Life Misspent by Suryakant Tripathi Nirala. This is at 120 pages, and this is his memoir of sorts, where he talks about like his marriage and the loss that he went through, because he lost his wife very early due to the plague, if I'm not mistaken. I read this a while ago. But he also talks about his friendship with this man named Kulli, and that friendship may have been an attraction towards him. So this has like some LGBT content, but it also talks about Kulli then and what he went about doing. So it talks about untouchability and just breaking these boundaries of society, and a bunch of other things in 120 pages. So yeah, definitely a very interesting read. Number 4 at 128 pages, we have the perennial Gacha, which is a book that I think I recommend in each and every one of my videos, but it is so good. This book, written by Vivek Shanbhag, is translated from Kannada, and is very difficult to explain. But essentially, it's about this family that did grow up in like not so much money, and then they get a lot of money, and then you kind of see what effect that has on them. It's also about a marriage and a bunch of other stuff that happens in the end, and the end just like makes you question a lot of shit and makes you want to like just grab the author and be like, hey buddy, please explain the end to me. And trust me, I have done that, and he has never explained it to us. So it's really good, and I would definitely recommend. Number 5 at 132 pages is Liberation of Sita by Volga, and this is a book that I've absolutely loved. If you grew up reading the Ramayana, the epic of Ramayana, Ramayana, then this is like much needed reading for you, because essentially what this does is that it tells you the story of Sita after the epic kind of gets over, and she basically visits all the other women that have been wronged in the Ramayana, because as we know, the Ramayan's not a great like epic for women, and just the sort of things that have happened to women through it. So yeah, it's a really good, short, wonderful, just a great feminist read for people who have read the Ramayana and thought that it was kind of weird. At number 6, we have the very famous Mother of 1084 by Mahasweta Devi. Mahasweta Devi is a very famous author, and this was one of her seminal works. This essentially talks about this mother who son has died, and Mother of 1084 is essentially the corpse number 1084. That was the body that she went and found. This is many years later after the death of her son. Her son was labeled a rebel during the Naxal movement because he protested the killings of these students, and society and everyone around her is telling her to forget him, but she in this book is thinking about him and thinking about his life, right from like when he was born to like him being involved in this movement and what all happened that during that death. And you just kind of see her through the day, and it is very moving, very wonderfully written, and it just brings a lot of feelings to the front, and it's definitely a seminal piece of work which needs to be read. Number 7 is a book which is also about the themes of the Naxal movement in Bengal, and that is There is Gunpowder in the Air by Manoranjan Vyapari. This is a book that he sort of took from his life. It is about a man who goes to jail again. It is just a place that he is comfortable being in, but in this time that he goes, he is put in a cell with a bunch of Naxal students, because the head of the jail kind of wants him to be like the spy telling him what is happening with these students, but during this time he starts to get to know more about these students, about the movement, and it's just a very interesting tale. There are a bunch of other things that happen in the jail, and you get to know a lot of other things as well, but at 173 pages I thought that this was a really fast moving but very interesting read. Also, fun fact, Manoranjan Vyapari is running for elections. He is Dalit and he is amazing, and I definitely need to read more books by him. He has so many others, but yeah, this is a book that I would definitely recommend as well. At number 8, we finally have Perumal Murugan. Of course, I had to mention him. He is one of my favorite Tamil writers. And for this one, I want to recommend Panachi, which is at 179 pages. This one, I think, came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. At least the translated version of it did. And it is a story about a goat. But it is not just that. It is way more. You can really read between the lines and between the story and get so much more from it. It talks about the government, it talks about being a woman, it talks about just being a person in this world today, through the lens of a goat, and what it means to be a goat. I know it sounds really weird, but once you read it, you'll be able to get a better understanding. Definitely a really interesting read, and would definitely recommend. Number 9 at 181 pages is one of my new favorite reads. I just read it this month and I have fallen absolutely in love, and that is Rita Wellingkar by Shanta Gokhale. Holy shit, what a wonderful read. It is about a lady who has suffered a nervous breakdown, and she is in like a hospital where she's recovering, but at this point of time she's basically looking back at her life, seeing what it was like for her as a child, as a woman, and what kind of led to this nervous breakdown. We also see other people in her life and them adding to that story, and it is just such a brilliant book, wonderfully written. So many parts of this book that I just had to underline because so brilliant in terms of the way that it was put across. Speaks about mental health so well, and just generally about being a woman in society. absolutely brilliant read. Definitely recommend. At number 10, we have Samskara, or A Rite for a Dead Man, by U.R. Ananthamurthy. And this is a book that I thought was really, really interesting and just very well done in terms of the way that it was put together and the way it tried to shine light on society and on caste. But essentially, this book is follows this man, Brahmin man who dies, but he is a man who didn't really live according to the Brahmin way of life. He would eat meat, he would drink, and he had like a mistress of a lower caste. So there are people in the society, or the people around him, or the other Brahmins, they don't want to like let go of their caste by burying him, or like doing his rites, because they think that like they'll get soiled, I guess, or something like that. But they can't do anything till he is buried, because they're still supposed to be in mourning because he is of their caste. So like a lot of their stuff which they want to do, they can't do. So it's like this whole like conundrum that they are in, and it's just how they kind of deal with it. At the same point of time, you see like how hypocritical they are, and so much greed and lust and everything that they kind of go through. And it is just a really, really, really interesting book. Very short, I think 180 pages or something like that, but I thought that it was brilliantly done, and just very interesting. Number 11, and the last book that I have to recommend to you in this video, is Manto's short stories. And the one that I would recommend to you is the one written by Atish Tasir, or translated by Atish Tasir. I feel like that one is the best one. But yeah, Manto was a really, really brilliant writer who wrote a lot of short fiction. A lot of his famous works, however, are the ones which are set around the partition time of India and Pakistan in 1947. I just think that he is such a brilliant writer, and these short stories are stories that will stay with you for a really, really long time. I know that I have read some of his short stories like in the 8th grade, which was, I don't want to tell you how long that was, but a really long time ago, and they have stuck with me. This book is absolutely brilliant, definitely recommend. And yeah, so that's it in terms of recommendations for this video. I hope that you are having a great reading month. I am going through a bit of a slump, which is why short books I thought would be great for this time. But if you have read any of these books, let me know it down in the comments what you think. If you have any more suggestions for books, then let me know down in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.